Well, kids, here we are, Wednesday, April 15th. Last new material for the week. Um, just a quick reminder yesterday we talked about precipitation and the four different kinds of precipitation: rain, snow, sleet, hail, and how they form. Remember, it has to do with the temperatures of the air up at the clouds. Is it a liquid or a solid up there? And then the temperature down here at the surface. Um, is it going to remain a liquid or a solid down here? Rain, warm above, warm below. Snow, cold above, cold below. And sleet is going to be where we've got warm air up here, where it's liquid, it falls through cold air, and it freezes. So sleet is that frozen raindrop with little tiny pellets of ice down at the surface. Hail has to do with severe weather. And that leads us, it does lead us. Today's topic is severe weather, but that wasn't all that we talked about yesterday. We also talked about these air masses that have the same characteristics as the land or the water below them. Wherever they meet, that's where we have weather typically. That's where we have interesting weather anyway. And where they meet, we have things called warm fronts and cold fronts. Cold fronts are cold air that move into an area, push up the warm air, which make thunderstorms. Warm air moving in is called a warm front. All right, and that usually leads to several days of rain, or at least a couple of days. And then the other thing that we touched on yesterday was pressure, high pressure, and low pressure. Remember, for me, high pressure means nice weather, low pressure means crappy weather. All right. So, back to that hail and severe weather. For now, I am done with the textbook, and where you need to be is you need to be in the severe weather information packet that I sent to you. Now, this severe weather packet, we're going to use this for probably the next 3 days. I'm going to go through it in three sections: page 1 through 5, 6 through 9, 10 through 14. Um, this document is created as you scan through it. You can see that it was created by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the National Weather Service, the Red Cross. All right, all very important entities that help us stay safe and be prepared for severe weather. Now, this is not meant to scare you. And what makes me nervous here is on page 1 in red where it says, "Why worry about thunderstorms?" I don't want you to worry about thunderstorms. I don't want the word worry to be part of what we do here. I want you to be informed. I want you to know what to expect, how to prepare, and how to stay safe. So I don't want you to worry about thunderstorms and tornadoes and severe weather. I want you to know how to be prepared for them and be informed. So that's my hope for you today. All right. So in this first section of the severe weather packet, it talks about the different aspects of severe weather and some statistics, which are extremely interesting. All right. So, first of all, when we look here in this first part, lightning, 55 to 60 fatalities a year, 400 injuries or more every year from people that get hit by lightning. They occur within thunderstorms, cost $1 billion in damage if they hit a building and it starts on fire. That's going to factor into that number. This one always reminds me, next time you see Mr. Bertram, ask him about getting hit by lightning. It seems to me that he has been hit by lightning twice. Weird. I know lightning's not supposed to strike twice in the same place, right? Wrong. All right. The next aspect are tornadoes. Tornadoes, we know how damaging they are, but if you look, just slightly more fatalities every year than lightning, 60 to 65. Some more injuries for sure. They can produce 200 mile per hour winds or more. Most of them are quite a bit less than that, by the way. They can be over a mile wide and stay on the ground for a very long time. Straight line winds, something that you may not be familiar with. Basically, they are just extremely fast when we've got a lot of sinking air, that cold sinking air, and it hits the ground and spreads out. If it's going fast enough, and in straight line winds, they can go up to 125 miles per hour, They can knock over trees, they can blow roofs off, those kinds of things. So some people might think that they've been hit by a tornado, but if all of the debris, all the trees are pointing in the same direction, typically that's going to indicate straight line winds. Flash floods and flooding. We know we have that issue around the Fond du Lac area here. It's happened before. It is the number one cause of death associated with thunderstorms. More than 90 fatalities a year are because of flash floods and flooding. More than die in tornadoes, more than die in lightning. The dangerous part is the water. All right, so we need to make sure that we learn to stay safe around that flooding area. And then hail can be larger than a softball. And again, it causes more than $1 billion in crop damage. All right, so we're going to move on here. So in order to be a thunderstorm, like sometimes you might hear that we're in a thunderstorm watch or a thunderstorm warning. First of all, the difference between the two, a thunderstorm watch means that conditions are right for a thunderstorm to form. Doesn't mean that there is a thunderstorm. It means that the conditions are right for a thunderstorm. A thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, whenever you hear the warning, it means that it's actually happening. All right. So a thunderstorm warning means there is a thunderstorm. And up here, it tells us what it takes to be considered a severe thunderstorm. Either it has hail, it has winds higher than 58 miles per hour, or it has a tornado. So it's got to have those things to be considered a severe thunderstorm. All right. Another neat fact, there are more than 1,800 thunderstorms occurring at any time on planet Earth. Any day, 16 million thunderstorms a year on planet Earth. Clearly something that we need to know about, regardless of where we end up living. So when we look here at this picture of the thunderstorm life cycle, we start with kind of a small cumulus cloud. Typically, they've got a flat base. And as warm air continues to push up and push that cloud higher and higher and higher, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we get into that mature stage where we end up with hail and lightning. And we'll talk about how lightning and thunder form here in just a little bit. Eventually, it moves past and it starts to dissipate, and we call that the dissipating stage. And you can see along here each of the kind of characteristics of those different stages of a thunderstorm. All right. Tornado. Keep in mind, probably end of next week, you're going to start to create a tornado safety plan for me. All right. Tornadoes are hugely important that we prepare for them. That's why we have tornado drills at school and why we need to be prepared at home as well. All right. So tornadoes, and start with some facts about tornado. You know, they're a violently rotating column of air. When they touch the ground, they're a tornado. If they're not touching the ground, what are they called? Some of you knew. It's a funnel cloud. All right. What do they call it when it happens over water? Again, some of you knew. It's a water spout. All right. Average speed of a tornado when they're moving along the ground is about 30 miles per hour. Faster than you can run. Don't bother trying. Okay. They can also move up to 70 miles an hour. That's almost faster than we can drive. So driving away from them also not a great idea. The biggest ones can have 200 mile per hour winds. They can be part of hurricanes. They can happen year round, although typically we need to have some warm air in order for them to form. Some of you maybe have heard of the enhanced Fujita scale. It's the EF, or used to, when we were young, it was just F. It was like an F1 or an F2, but it's the EF scale now. It's enhanced Fujita scale. Most tornadoes, which you're going to see, are in that EF0 range. Winds 65 to 85 miles an hour. Not terribly dangerous, although they can still hurt and kill people. Not terribly dangerous, all the way up to the EF5, which are the bad ones. They're the killers. They're winds that can be over 200 miles per hour. All right. How does a tornado form? Basically, when you have rising warm air and sinking cold air, you end up with a tube of rotating air up in the atmosphere. And when a thunderstorm forms, you typically get some significant updraft, which is warm air rising. And when that warm air hits the spinning tube, it can turn it on its side and eventually form a tornado, which is what you see in the pictures that we have up here. All right, there's some neat tornado pictures. 88% of tornadoes are weak ones. They only last for a minute or maybe up to 10, right? Not a whole bunch of damage. 11% are considered strong tornadoes, which is about 30% of the deaths would be a strong tornado in that EF2, EF3 range. And then we have the violent tornadoes. Fortunately, they're less than 1% of all tornadoes are considered violent tornadoes. And you can see that they can last for a long time, have strong winds, and those are the bad ones. All right. Now we have weather radar watching the sky to let us know, and that technology is getting better and better every single year to help keep us safe. But I'm going to finish off with some fact and fiction, and these are definitely going to be on the quiz that you get for today about tornadoes. A lot of things that we think about tornadoes are not true. For instance, some people around here will say, well, we don't have tornadoes in Fond du Lac because we have Lake Winnebago or we have the ledge up on the side. That's the first one. Lakes, rivers, and mountains protect areas from tornadoes. False. All right. That is not true. Everywhere there can be any geographic area there can be tornadoes. Another one we might have heard is that tornadoes cause buildings to explode as they pass overhead. False. Doesn't happen. This is one, ask your parents or grandparents, because my mom used to tell me that if a tornado was coming, I had to open the windows. Like, really? Who's going to take the time to open the windows? But that's what we were supposed to do because people thought that they had to do that to equalize the pressure so that the house didn't explode. False. Not true. Get your butt hidden. Don't go and open windows. All right. Another fiction, highway overpasses, those bridges, right? People sometimes you see they'll drive and then they'll climb up underneath them for safety in a tornado. Don't do that. It's not a safe place. All it does is condense the area that the wind has to go through. It actually speeds the wind up underneath those overpasses. Don't do that. And then finally, it's safe to take shelter in the bathroom, hallway, or closet of a mobile home. I realize that many of our students live in mobile homes here, just like they do all over the country. The unfortunate fact is that there really is not a safe place inside a mobile home during a tornado, which is why it's going to be hugely important to learn where the shelters are, learn who has those keys or those codes to get in there, and to have a plan to get there. And that's why we're going to work on that in the coming days. All right. So make sure you read over fact and fiction, read over those first 5 pages. And the quiz that I have for you today is going to be based on that information. So with that said, hey, make sure you get a hold of me. Email, Google Hangout, Google Meet. If you have questions, I expect to hear from you. All right. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.